Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz as her vice presidential running mate, and JD Vance is panicking. I'm going to show 3 videos that show just how badly JD Vance is losing it. It's hard to imagine, but Vance was clearly thinking he'd have a competitor that was his equal. Well, sorry, Kamala couldn't reach that low. So watch him bumble around trying to land a punch. If you think Republicans have been mad at JD Vance up until now, this morning at a rally, JD Vance, who admittedly has been a disaster for the Republicans, made his biggest blunder yet. Now, not by calling Trump Hitler, and not by bringing attention to Trump's obvious mental decline, but by endorsing Kamala Harris. Let's take a look at his statement.
And if you want to bring peace to that region, you need a negotiator who Vladimir Putin respects. So we've got to have a person who understands diplomacy, who understands that America does have negotiating leverage, that shuts off energy in places, or shuts off access to energy in places where you have bad guys running the energy policy, rebuilds the American energy sector, allows us to project power overseas, and makes Vladimir Putin know that we got to bring peace, and you got to have respect for an American president who can do that.
Now, rarely do I give Vance credit for doing something smart, but this is the most obvious slap in the face to Trump, who everyone knows is controlled by Putin, who is and always has been Putin's puppet. Raising that fundamental weakness of Trump is a masterstroke of genius by Vance, who clearly must be getting ready to switch parties. Republicans are already going to be mad at Vance for this, but things didn't get any better when the subject rolled around to his newly named opponent, Tim Walz. Vance even stumbles trying to play the nice guy.
Yeah. Have you or Governor Walz reached out to one another? I know when you were you're going to debate, you guys have reached out.
I actually, on the way to the flight in Cincinnati, I guess in northern Kentucky, I actually called Tim Walz. I left a voicemail. I didn't get him, but I just said, look, congratulations. Look forward to a robust conversation and enjoy the ride. And maybe he'll call me back. Maybe he won't.
And look, I get it. Even MAGA Nation knows that Trump is a dimwit. Part of the appeal of putting Vance on the ticket was this idea that by putting a Yale-educated lawyer on the ticket, things would balance out. A he-man military man who is also an intellectual. Problem is, Vance is not an intellectual. He stumbles every time he tries to be. And even if he was, he would have to rein himself in before he alienated his anti-intellectual followers. Vance didn't do any better at the rally, trying to take on Walz, moving from funny, which fell as flat as a badly tuned cornet in a brass quintet, to camp counselor telling horror stories around the campfire by saying the word liberal and waiting for the shrieks and screams to follow. And is it just me? But Walz is the everyday guy who throws punches at his opponents, while JD Vance has trouble putting on his eyeliner. Take a close look here. That is showgirl level eyeliner blotch. So here's JD Vance proving he shouldn't quit his day job.
So first of all, the reason I didn't say a whole lot about Tim Walz is because the Democrats have showed a willingness to pull a little switcheroo on us. So I don't even know if we're actually going to get Tim Walz out of this campaign. And I think that a lot of us are asking ourselves, well, it's not going to be official until the Democrats actually nominate him, I guess, at their convention next week. So that's the first reason. The second reason is, look, Tim Walz's record is a joke. He's been one of the most far-left radicals in the entire United States government at any level. But I think that what Tim Walz's selection says is that Kamala Harris has bent the knee to the far left of her party, which is what she always does.
It's hard to figure out which is worse. Vance trying a little of the razzle-dazzle comedy routine there, or trying to tell ghost stories about liberals being so scary. There are a lot of reasons why the Republicans are going to lose this race, including mass defections from their own party and base, a profound lack of credibility, and their open embrace of fascism. Hello, Project 2025. How's that going for you? But the other reason they are going to lose this race is that they keep going back to the 1994 playbook. They keep using liberal and far left as swear words, as if we haven't already lived through the excesses of the far right. pulling children from their parents' arms and putting them in cages, filling the Supreme Court with right-wing hacks that are taking away the rights of everyday people, and then tax breaks that make the rich grow insanely richer while everyone else struggles. Here is the far-left legislative accomplishments of Tim Walz in Minnesota. Providing free lunch and breakfast for all school children. Talk about anti-Christian Marxism. Wow, feeding hungry children. What next? Giving them a free education? Oh, well, actually, yes. Walz signed legislation for increased funding to higher education that provides free tuition and fees for all Minnesota students with a family-adjusted gross income under $80,000. And he got sensible gun control laws passed so that children going to school can learn instead of practicing live shooter drills. That bill did not provide for arming teachers either. Talk about far left. Walz is going to mop up the floor with Vance, not just because Vance has no accomplishments to his name, but because, in the end, Vance can only talk in platitudes. Walz talks about what is real to people and delivers criticism directly that hits the point. And most importantly, he has accomplished things. So yes, he's going to mop the floor with Vance, and then he's going to waltz right into the White House with Kamala Harris. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.